Let's get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, the sexy and the not so sexy, big children and little. Welcome to the information era, where everyone on the streets has a computer in their pocket, but nobody really knows shit.
Let's think this through.
G-R-A-F-F-I-T-I-B-L-E-U.
Let's think this through.
We're gonna save the introductions because at this point of Let's Think This Through, episode 4, we are going to assume you know who you're tuning into. Let me explain how this works. We're going to take a scientific method and break down certain topics. Now, there are certain aspects to this scientific method, but I put an asterisk by that because I'm not a scientist. There are different variations of the scientific method. And since I'm not a scientist, I couldn't begin to tell you which one was the best. I picked which one pretty much works for me. And since I am an artist, I will be giving you these aspects with an artistic interpretation. So take what I say with a grain of salt, because it really doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with whatever I'm telling you. You can accept what I'm telling you. You can accept my wisdom after we go through the whole scientific method deal, artistically, of course, or you could reject my wisdom, and either one is okay, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you accept or reject what I'm talking about, as long as that muscle in between your ears is engaged and you get active. That being said, let's get right to it. The variations that I'll be using for this particular podcast are as follows. We are going to make an observation, then we are going to ask a question based on the observation, then we will form a hypothesis which answers the question, then we'll make a prediction based on the hypothesis, then we'll do some experiments. Since I'm not a scientist and we don't have a controlled environment in which to conduct these experiments will really be converted to experience. And I will be, according to everything we built up to, I will be plugging in my own life experiences. I will testify, and then we will come to a conclusion, which is we will analyze that data after all is said and done. Then you can accept or reject what I'm talking about, and then we can be on our way. As long as I inspired critical thinking. It's good there. Okay, so my observation for episode 4 is that but with everything going on as we wrap up this Corona season and things are starting to open back up, I noticed that one of the words at the top of the ticket, while we were all indoors trying to stay alive, I noticed one of the words that got thrust inside of the vocabulary of popular culture was the word complicit. Complicit. I'm not even going to insult you by defining the word complicit. But after, you know what complicit means, right? Or you could look it up. Actually, since I don't want to be a lazy podcaster, I will provide the definition on the screen. And now that we've got that out of the way, making the observation that the word complicit was now extraordinarily popular, that forced me to ask a question. And that question is ignorance bliss? Let's dig into it, shall we? My hypothesis that answers the question, it depends on what you want to experience. Often in times when we don't, or when we choose to not face what we need to face, we're really just trading one pain for the other. It's storytelling time, so I'll tell two stories. One is about a wolf, and the other is about a sheep. When I say ignorance is bliss, and I say it really kind of depends on what kind of karma you're choosing to have, even though it's not as black and white as this, what I'm doing as far as making a prediction is I predict that after I tell you these two stories based on my imagination and life experiences, equal parts of both, you will make up your own mind, or rather you already kind of know where you want to go. Remember, this is my artistic spin on a scientific method. Okay? Story time, here we go. First, let's tell the story of the wolf. You're a wolf. You're in the wild, you're free, you're drinking through, you're drinking the freshest water melted from the mountain snow caps. You never felt more alive, right? And when you're hungry, you hunt. And sometimes you succeed and sometimes you fail. Well, more often than not, you fail. The game, the deer, the rabbit, whatever escapes your clutches. Sometimes you even get hurt, but it is what it is. I guess that's the price of freedom. So one day, even though inherently you know the risks, one day you hunt. And you're hunting a rabbit, and you're a wolf, and you're hunting this rabbit. And the rabbit, the only defense it really has is to run from you. And you remember other rabbits you've eaten. Remember how good they taste. Remember how delicious they are. And on this particular winter morning, you are extraordinarily cold, and you are extraordinarily hungry. And off you go after the rabbit. And you're chasing them and chasing them and chasing them and chasing them and chasing them, and you almost grab them in your clutches, and you get shot by a hunter, a human being. Kinda sucks. You fade out. You get shot in the heart, so it takes you about maybe a half a minute to fade out. Rest in peace, wolf. I salute you. You lived your life free. You had no idea you was gonna die today. Deep down in your soul, you knew the risks, but the hunger was just too great. So out of your whole life of running free and doing whatever it was that the hell you wanted to do, you probably had 30 seconds of fear, pain, whatever, right before you faded out. Not to say that you didn't experience some kind of pain or loss in the duration of your life, but for the majority, for the most part, you lived life as a free wolf. You didn't even understand the concept of death, really. So in that case, ignorance is bliss. there comes a karma with that. But there's another kind of ignorance as well. Let's tell the story of the sheep. And the sheep is a very domesticated animal. I gather that if you take a domesticated sheep and let him go in the wild, you probably wouldn't have a great chance of survival. I think it's safe to assume that. So the sheep lives on the farm or wherever he or she lives at for the duration of his life. And man, a part of him is just like, this is dope. I don't have a lot of stress. I don't really have any competition or any natural predators except for the occasional wolf that breaks in and eats one of my brothers, right? But outside of that, my life is fairly stress-free. There's a human that comes in here with a cowboy hat and chaps on, and he feeds us 2, 3, 4 times a day. My goodness, there's so much food. It's a beautiful thing. I have no worries in the world. I gouge myself until I'm freaking sick. I'm living life. I hear the pain of some of my brothers from time to time. I hear their screams. I hear their cries. But my ignorance is a sort of willful ignorance. I know there's something wrong, but I don't give a fuck. One day, the fellow in the cowboy hat and the chaps kind of corrals me into this very thin corridor. I think there's some food down there, and lo and behold, a yoke comes down on my neck, a razor blade slits my throat, and I'm out of here. Takes me a good maybe half a minute to bleed out, and I'm gone. I was in terror and in pain for maybe about half a minute, but there's a different kind of ignorance is bliss when ignorance is willful. In this particular case of the sheep. Now, I would care to wager that the sheep is not intelligent enough, even if another sheep communicated the danger that sheep would be in. I have a feeling that that sheep would pretty much be in denial. Humans deny things that are right in their face, impending doom, right in front of them all the time. So I think it would be safe to surmise that most definitely a sheep would do that. Do humans also not willfully turn a blind eye to things? Or maybe it's not really turning a blind eye at all. Maybe it's something malicious. Maybe they know because, hey, or maybe they feel. Most human beings feel separate from other people. The whole we're all is one, what you do to your neighbors will affect you in some kind of way, is a hard concept for people who look different from one another, right? So what does all this mean? Let's go back to the hypothesis. The hypothesis was, it all depends on what you want to experience. The wolf and the sheep stories, as far as my prediction on which one you would go to, of course, I'm telling this story from my own perspective. I chose the wolf as a metaphor, obviously. I chose the sheep as a metaphor, obviously. And it doesn't mean that if you, the viewer, choose willful ignorance in whatever it is you choose, because I'm guilty of it as well. There are certain things throughout the course of my life that I simply chose not to see. It doesn't mean that I'm judging you, and please extend me the courtesy and don't judge me as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all part of this human experience. But I believe you know the point I'm trying to make. And the point I'm trying to make is make a choice. I choose violence. Hashtag Cersei. I choose critical thinking. I choose revolution. I choose freedom. It's interesting just with my personal belief. Why else would we come here? Why else would we choose? If you believe, okay, let me start from the beginning. If anyone within the sound of my voice believes that you have an eternal soul and that your soul is eternal, then I ask you this. With your soul floating around in the cosmic goo of pleasantries, why else would you choose to come to this planet unless we was really going to go either as hard as we can or we figured it would probably be the most thrilling thing we could choose at the time? Why would a soul choose to come here? I could only surmise that my soul chose to experience living with purpose and trying to be as woke as I can be. Some people think woke is just being self-aware, but being woke also is knowing how to listen to other perspectives besides your own. So remember, you can either accept what I just told you. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you enjoyed the storytelling. Or you could reject what I told you. And it really makes me know, never mind if you agree with my wisdom or not. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really truly matters is that we exercised the muscle between your ears and made it active. Until next time, take care of yourselves.